Welcome to Burn On, Not Out, the podcast for founders and CEOs who are done being the bottleneck. Picture this. You're a founder. You have a team of people around you, a team of good people, smart people, people that you intentionally hired, people that you believed in when you brought them on. And on paper, you should have everything that you need for your business to run smoothly without you. And yet, it's 10 o'clock at night. You're still at your desk, your laptop is open, your phone has 3 missed messages and 1 missed call from someone on your team. And the thing that's sitting in front of you right now, the thing that's keeping you at your desk at 10 o'clock at night, it's not even anything big and strategic. It's a decision, a medium-sized, probably should have been handled by someone else's decision. And yet somehow, here you sit at 10 o'clock at night working on it again. This is the scene I want you to sit with for a second, because I think a lot of you know exactly what I'm describing. Not because you're failing, not because your team is failing, but because something in the way your company is built keeps producing this exact outcome. Capable people on one side, you working nights on the other side, and nobody can quite explain why. That's what this episode is about, because I want to tell you something that might feel uncomfortable at first. The problem isn't your team. The problem is your structure. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So let's name what's actually happening here. Most founders, when they start a business, it may just be them, maybe 1 or 2 other people. And they're collaborating, they're working together, they're building it. The founder has the vision. They typically have all the answers. They know how exactly it needs to be built, and it makes sense for everything to be routing back to them. That's the way most businesses are started. However, when you start building that team, as the revenue grows, as the team grows, you hire your first operations person and you think, okay, great, operations are handled. You bring on a marketing lead and you think, good, that's off my plate. I don't have to deal with that anymore. You add a salesperson, a project manager, a director, whatever. And with each hire, you expect that your workload will get lighter. And maybe it does for a little bit. However, things start coming back to you because you hired people, but you're still running on the same system that you ran on when you started the business with you and maybe a couple other people. You didn't shift the structure as the company grew. So here's what actually got built. A hub. If you visualize kind of a spoken wheel, right? A hub with spokes coming out of it. Like if you think about a bike wheel. You're the hub. As the founder, you're the hub. And every person on your team is one of those spokes. And all the information, all the decisions, all the approvals, they flow in one direction towards you, towards the hub. So I want to make sure that this point hits home. This didn't happen because you're a control freak. It didn't happen because you're a bad leader. It didn't happen because your people are unqualified. It happened because as you were growing, your people were trained to come back to you. That's what happens. Think about it this way. If you were making a decision, say you weren't the founder, and you were making a decision, and it was one that you were unsure of, you weren't sure what the outcome was going to be, would you make that decision if you knew that you could go to someone else and transfer that risk to them? Would you do that? You would. It's human nature. So your people, when they're faced with the decision, they're like, I'm not really sure. They're going to go to you and give you the risk, because then if the decision goes bad, it doesn't fall on them. It falls back on you. And the other reason it happens is you do have all the answers. Someone comes in your office, I just have this quick, can you help me with this? You're automatically thinking, oh, that'll just take a minute. Sure, I can do that, because you know you can. And it's just something, it's short, it happens quickly. But then, very subtly, this spoke and wheel starts to happen and it compounds. Because that small decision right then to answer that question, to take on that risk for someone else creates a ripple effect. You were the one with all the client relationships. You were the one who knew the vision, the margins, the priorities, the backstory on every situation. Of course, things routed through you. You were the only one who had what was needed to make a good call at that time. The problem is that the company grew and the structure didn't change with it. You added people but didn't redesign the structure. You delegated the tasks, but you kept the decision traffic flowing the same way it always had, right back to you. I hear it all the time. Leaders will say, I delegated this. Like, why is it still coming back? Because that is what happens when you just delegate a task. You do not give the authority. There needs to be a structure so that someone knows they are the owner. And you need to have a system that tells them in X, Y, and Z, if that happens, then and only then can it route back to the founder. In all other areas, you are the owner. That is giving ownership, not just delegating tasks. So what looks like a team from the outside is actually a founder with a lot of very capable people who are waiting on them. They're waiting for your decision. They're waiting for which way to go. That's the bottleneck, not your calendar, not your bandwidth, the architecture itself. And here's where most founders get it wrong. They think this is a time problem. This is not a time problem. I hear this all the time. If I just had more hours in the day. And I get it. I understand why it makes sense. Because the symptom is that you're out of time, you're behind, you're overwhelmed. And of course, the answer seems like if I just had more hours, everything would be fine. Time management can't fix a structural problem. You could wake up at 3 a.m. every day. Implement every productivity system ever written. Block your calendar into perfect 90-minute focus sessions, and by 9 a.m., you'd still be the bottleneck. It would not have gone away because the decisions would still be routing to you. There'd just be a well-rested, color-coded version of you sitting at the center of the same broken system. I want to give you an analogy that I think makes this really clear. Think about a traffic jam. When you're sitting in gridlock, what are you thinking? Probably something like, man, everyone around me is a bad driver. No one knows how to merge. People are braking for no reason. The frustration is real, and it feels very much like a people problem. But traffic engineers don't look at traffic jam and say, these drivers need coaching. They look at the road design. They look at where the lanes narrow, where the on-ramps converge, where the signals are timed wrong. They fix the infrastructure, and then the traffic moves. Your company has a traffic jam, and the jam isn't caused by bad drivers. Your team, your people, it's caused by bad road design. Every question that comes back to you, every approval request, every, hey, quick question, every just wanted to loop you in, those are cars. And right now, every single one of them is trying to merge onto the same one-lane road, you. That's not a time problem. That's a decision traffic problem. And the solution isn't to drive faster. It's to build more roads. So I want to give you another example here because I know this is the place where a lot of founders get frustrated. You look at your team. They're smart. They're capable, experienced people. And you wonder why they keep bringing things to you. Why can't they just decide? Why does everything need your input? Is it a confidence issue? A competence issue? Do I need to hire different people? Here's the thing. The answer is no. Your team is not the problem. You're not the problem. They are doing exactly what your system trained them to do. Think about the early days of your company. When someone came to you with a question, what'd you do? You answered it fast, decisively. You probably had a strong opinion and you shared it. And when they followed your directions, things went well. You were engaged, you were responsive, you liked being in the loop. It made sense. So your team learned something. They learned that when in doubt, the safest move is to ask you. Not because they're lazy, not because they lack confidence, because that behavior was the one that got results. They brought things to you and things got resolved, so they kept doing it. That's not a character flaw. That's a conditioned behavior. And you, not intentionally, not maliciously, trained it into them. Now here's where it gets a little more complicated. Even if a leader on your team genuinely wants to make a decision on their own, what happens when there's no system that defines which decisions are theirs to make? They don't have a framework. They don't have any clear authority. So they do a little internal calculation. How confident do I feel about this? What happens if I get it wrong? Is it safer just to ask? And because their confidence is fluctuating, because it goes up and down based on their last conversation, how a project's going, based on whether you seem pleased or frustrated that morning, the answer to that question changes constantly. On a good week, fewer things come to you. On a hard week, everything does. That's not a people system. That's a feeling system. And feelings are not a reliable way to route decisions. What your team actually needs isn't more confidence, it's clarity. They need a defined structure that tells them in advance, in writing, without ambiguity, which decisions belong to them and which ones don't. When that structure exists, the escalation pattern breaks, not because they changed, because the system finally told them what was theirs. And this works until it doesn't. There's a specific moment when this system stops being manageable and starts becoming a ceiling. The specific moment I'm talking about is in the early stages of a company. The founder as a hub model, it works. It's the right model for that stage of the company. The company's small, the team's small. You have the most contacts, the most relationships, the most skin in the game. Decisions moving through you quickly is an asset. It's how you stayed aligned. It's how you were able to move so fast. And then growth happened. You land more clients, you bring on more people, you build out more functions. And on the surface, all of that looks like success because it is success. You did the thing, you grew the business. But here's the trap that almost no one warns you about. Every new level of growth generates a new layer of decisions. More clients means more client decisions. More team members means more people decisions. More revenue means more financial decisions. More opportunity means more strategic decisions. And if the structure hasn't changed, if everything still routes through you, then growth doesn't feel like momentum. It feels like weight. It feels like overwhelm. Every win generates more to manage. Every hire creates more touch points. The thing that was supposed to make your life better is making it harder. I can speak to this from my own personal experience. I was in a company and I was the hub. And I didn't realize it on a conscious level. But unconsciously, I was sabotaging the company because I knew I couldn't take on any more work. The more we grew, the more work I got. My health was failing. I was so stressed out. I was losing hair. It was crazy. I've been there. And that's the moment that everything changes. When the system that got you here starts actively working against where you're trying to go. And the cruelest part of it is that it happens right when things are going well. You hit a revenue number you've been chasing for 2 years, and instead of feeling proud and energized, you feel overwhelmed, more behind, frustrated, and scared. That's not a personal failing. That's a structural signal. The signal is the road needs to be redesigned because the road that worked for a company of 5 can't carry a company of 15 or 25 or even 50. So what do you actually do about it? Because the answer isn't hire better people or work harder. It's redesign the structure. And the structure can be redesigned. That's not some vague motivational statement. That's a literal, specific, doable thing. The decision traffic that's flowing to you right now, most of it doesn't actually require you. It's reaching you because no one ever defined where else it should go. And when you define that, when you build a clear role-specific system that tells every leader in your company which decisions belong to them, the volume changes, sometimes dramatically and faster than you've ever expected. That's exactly what the CEO Decision Reset is built to do. It's not another coaching program on mindset or a general leadership course that you're never going to use. It's a framework, a real-world framework. Working sessions with other CEOs and founders experiencing the exact same challenges that you're experiencing, where you identify where your decision traffic is actually coming from, who should own what, and how to install the structure so that the right decisions reach the right people. If you're a founder who has good people and you're still working nights, the CEO Decision Reset is your next step. The link is in the show notes. Go check it out. Because I was sitting right where you are. I was the bottleneck who thought I was the problem. I was working 15, 16-hour days, being everything for everyone except myself. I was so burnt out. What I realized, I was showing up a shell of my former self. So yes, I was getting a lot done, but it was taking me forever. Because I was so tired, I was exhausted, and I couldn't see a way out because I was in it. It's like cliches or analogy for a reason, right? You're in a vacuum. You can't see your way out of it. You have to step out and you have to talk to other people who are experiencing what you've experienced. You have to work with someone who's been through what you've been through and walked out the other side, because I promise you, I was right where you're at, and I felt I was ready to give up a thriving business because I couldn't figure out what to do, how to take all the weight off of me. I wish I had this, and this is why I created it for all of you, because I know that this will remove you as the bottleneck from your company so that your company can thrive without you being involved in every single aspect of it. So if this episode resonated, if you heard yourself in any of this, I want you to know that what you're experiencing is not a you problem. It's a system problem. And system problems have system solutions. That's what we're here to build. I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to Burn On, Not Out. If decisions are still flowing back to you, don't just take notes. Install structure. Watch the CEO Decision Reset to see exactly how the founder bottleneck forms structurally and what gets installed to remove it. The link is in the show notes. Until next week, structure before strategy.